According to UNICEF, the last week of unrest across South Africa resulted in the reported deaths of at least 3 children, a 15-year-old boy, a 14-year-old boy, and a 14-year-old girl. We have also seen widely shared and shocking images of a 2-year-old girl thrown from a building to be saved from a fire in Durban, with other social media content showing the participation of children in looting. Civil society organizations working with women and children are calling on the government to deliver on basic services without further delay in communities facing shortages and for the basic income grant to be instituted. Joining us now to speak about the impact on the unrest on women and children, I'm joined by Cookie Edwards, convener of the KZN Network on Violence Against Women, as well as Mandisa Khanyile, director at Rise Up Against Gender-Based Violence. Ladies, very good morning. Great to speak to you on this Mandela Day.
Good morning, Hugo.
Incredible pictures that we saw last week, particularly of that little toddler being thrown from that building, and which evidently had caught fire. I mean, that just broke my heart.
No, most definitely. Children have been affected by this unrest in unbelievable ways. Lifeline reported actually that they've been receiving calls from women, from children who are distressed, seeking psychosocial support. We've had other reports whereby children are suffering from depression. Understand that they've been locked in their homes because of COVID-19. They've had the COVID-19 lockdowns that have disruptions in their schooling. And then to come into this situation during their school holidays where they're actually seeing their country burning in front of their eyes. And some of them have either been part of the unrest in terms of being affected. There's homes that have been burnt to the ground. There's an absolute influx in requests at homeless shelters and at domestic violence shelters. We recently, even this week, as an organization, were asked to evacuate a mother and her 3 children because they were being threatened with their lives. And police were unable to respond because they were responding to the looting incidences. So there's a deep impact in terms of access to services. There's a deep impact in terms of access to food and basics that they need. There's currently a national shortage, well, not a national shortage, but a shortage in KZN and Gauteng of baby products. And how are we expecting these children to just live through this and not really see the impact in terms of how they are, especially in terms of their mental health?
Cookie, thanks for joining us. You appear to be still muted on the screen from what I can see. If you'd like to unmute yourself. But obviously a huge amount of devastation impacting women and children, I think, is largely part of our conversation today. Can you talk us through some numbers? How many women and children have been impacted by what's transpired in this last week?
Sorry, it's too soft. I can't hear.
All right, Cookie, we're going to try and sort you out. Mandisa, we will come back to you. Let's talk about the numbers. You know, how many women and children have been impacted by what's transpired in this past week? Mandisa, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Hugo. At the moment, we're still collating information as civil society organizations. We don't have definitive numbers in terms of impact on the women and children that have been directly affected. We are receiving requests on an hourly basis for support, especially in regards to food in particular. In terms of reported incidences, as I said, numbers are still coming in. We're working closely with the Department of Women, with police, with social development to collate information so that we can be able to give accurate numbers about exactly how many persons were affected.
No, a lot of this, certainly reaction by women, many women. We've seen images where they are involved in the looting, sporadic looting across KZN, across Gauteng. And now there is a call that soldiers or SANDF should be restricted from coming onto the streets of South Africa. Now, how do you draw the line? How do you marry the two?
The reality is violence begets violence. Poverty is violence. And you saw desperate women. I mean, we saw elderly women who were of retirement age running into stores trying to get cooking oil. That's not the act of a criminal who's trying to master the system, that's an act of extreme desperation by an individual. You saw pensioners being arrested, and you actually saw violence being meted upon their bodies. I mean, we saw police assaulting women outside of the Value Pack Center warehouse in KZN. We saw bodies of people that were affected by the stampede. So, I mean, where do we draw the line? And when we bring in a force such as the South African National Defence Force, we understand that they're here to bring law and order. But reality is that they're going into people's homes, they're raiding people's homes, and they're asking people without warrants. They're asking people for receipts for their items. It's understandable that they're trying to repatriate the stuff that has been stolen, but reality speaking, who does that affect? And are they doing that in a peaceful way? And we're hearing reports coming in on an ongoing basis around the violence that's being meted upon ordinary individuals. We've seen the race incidences that have taken place in KZN in particular. Women have also been affected by those as well. So where exactly do we draw the line when it comes to state-instigated violence against the population?
And one of the things that I certainly would like to look at, obviously, is around gender-based violence and the impact that it has on our society. There have been countless reports of the police attempting to deal with the issue. But what is the source, the cause of all that? Are we nipping it in the bud, or are we waiting as a society for all of it to occur and then trying to react? Mandisa, are you there?
Oh, sorry, Hugo. I thought you were talking to Cookie.
No, we don't seem to have Cookie on the line, so if you'd like to respond. Cookie, are you there?
Can I respond?
Perfect. Finally, good to have you on the show.
Yeah, I'm just having a bit of a Wi-Fi connection. Hi, Hugo. Good day to all the listeners. Yes, everything that Mandisa has stated is what we have seen on the ground. I want to just add on that we in the eThekwini area in Durban and have seen all the destruction and the chaos, and how women and children have been affected by all this around them. Women have woken up, who are breadwinners in their families, have woken up to no employment the next day, and children are affected. Right now, we are sitting with a crisis of mothers wanting to put food on the table. There's a dire need for essentials right now, and there's a shortage of food supply. All this is affecting us after the destruction and the chaos.
So do you see a return to the status quo, particularly when you look at the fact that you've just said that women, children, in fact, a lot of people are starved, a lot of people are without jobs at the moment?
Yes, you must know COVID has caused a lot of unemployment already. With the lockdown, it's affected a lot of families. And now with the unrest, it's increased unemployment because of the looting, the burning of the structures around us. I mean, if you look at it, most of the retail shops have gone. And those were women were mostly employed in these places. So trying to get now some kind of income or anything is going to be more difficult. This is going to lead to increased anxiety. It's going to lead to increase of stress in the homes, frustration, and then it leads to increase of gender-based violence.
So one of the things that the President mentioned in his address on Friday is that SASSA offices will be open on Monday. He's encouraged SASSA, obviously, with the remaining budget, to give out food parcels and resume some form of grants. Will this impact members of your community or the people that you represent?
Okay. I'm going to say this, Olivia. It's like after the fact. People are hungry right now. If you go into the community, civil society organizations, communities are standing together to feed the people in the community that have nothing. They are doing the drive. We were asked to submit names to government from different communities. We submitted the list. They said SANDF was going to deliver these emergency food relief. Up till now, there's still nothing delivered.
Which government department did you submit to, and when?
Mandisa was liaising.
This was submitted. Yes, this was submitted 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry. So civil society organizations and religious organizations based in KZN were asked to make submissions 2 days ago, and were assured yesterday that the relief had arrived in KZN. So currently we're just waiting on the SANDF to contact those organizations directly in order to provide the aid and to distribute to communities. So there has been a delay, as Cookie has mentioned, in terms of actually getting it down to the ground, to the people. You did report on this yourselves as Newsroom yesterday when the delivery did come through to KZN. So that is the relief that Cookie is referring to in particular.
Sorry, I didn't get which government department you spoke to, and obviously if you've had made any follow-ups today.
We were liaising directly with the presidency.
And when we look at the numbers that you've submitted, what sort of numbers are we looking at of those that are needing some form of assistance?
I mean, in terms of the relief aid that was requested by organizations, we had about 30 or 40 organizations, specifically in different areas around KZN, each submitting the needs of their communities. And on average, you are having about 2,000 people per submission that have been directly affected. So in terms of the aid that we're expecting it to reach at least about 20,000 people that were asking for aid, that were pleading within church structures and other civil society organizations that are already doing direct support to be able to get support around, obviously, food aid in particular. Some are already struggling in terms of access to water, as you know. There's also issues around sorry, Cookie? Yeah. So there was issues around access to water, there was issues around access to food. And so those are the needs that are currently being met by that submission. As I said, we're still waiting, and we'll obviously send a report later on if and when they do arrive.
Cookie, just to wrap up, on this Mandela Day, we've seen hundreds of people across South Africa, Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal, a number of areas reaching out and offering some form of assistance to individuals that have been impacted by certainly the last week. Now, how do people reach out to you if there are individuals in KZN or anywhere else that would like to offer assistance to your members?
Well, I would say that they can contact Mandisa and myself from the Rise Up Foundation and from the KZN Network on Violence Against Women. And because we have coordinators in all the communities across the province, and we can coordinate this. But we are not receiving anything. We are the ones that are seeing the aftermath of the unrest on the ground. How women have to wake up with no food on the table because they had no access to bread. When they queue at the shops, it's long queues. By the time they get into the shop, there's nothing left on the shelves. So how do you explain to the children that there's no food, that there's nothing? We need that emergency relief like yesterday.
Ladies, thank you kindly for your time this morning. Cookie Edwards, convener of the KZN Network on Violence Against Women, as well as Mandisa Khanyile, director at Rise Up Against Gender-Based Violence, speaking to us this morning about the challenges that women and children are facing in KwaZulu-Natal. So if you're in that area and are able to help, please do, particularly on this Mandela Day.